What's happening, everybody? My name is Rico Lamite. Thank you guys all for coming out short notice today. And usually we go for every last Thursday of the month, but obviously it's Thanksgiving this month. And we're probably going on Wednesday, Thanksgiving last month, probably going on Wednesday this upcoming month too, because it is New Year's Eve. So definitely appreciate y'all coming back out, especially after the blackout a little bit there. We have been expanding rapidly. We have a couple of new folks on the team to introduce to you all. Unfortunately, out here in Los Angeles, we are on quarantine and we couldn't get people out to the studio. We're going to have a nice little walkthrough for everybody at the studio out in Los Alamitos. And we hopefully we'll get back to that at the end of the month. So for those of you guys just in with us for the first time, there's a 3-part series with yours truly, and then I'm going to be fading into the background. The first month, and that was actually our pilot episode, so it was just a soft rollout where we were going to introduce the platform to everyone. That one was what the hell happened. This month is okay, so what now? We're going to be going a little bit over the election, the effects from the election, and just so everybody knows, I am not anti-Biden, anti-Harris, I promise. I am not. We just got to make sure going forward, especially post-Trump, that we hold all of our politicians accountable. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And in the transition, everything on cannabis was lost. And you guys see kind of what's going on with the tabling of the MORE Act. It's starting to look like the war on drugs part 2. Hopefully it is not. Hopefully they get all that taken care of by tomorrow. Fingers crossed on that. We have to hold everybody accountable because this is our lane. Everybody who's been in the industry for whatever amount of time, this is unlike any other industry, and we have to make sure that we protect it with everything that we got. All right. So that being said, I want to first give a quick introduction to my man Joe Stallsworth coming in on the team. Thank you. And Joe, you want to join us real quickly and introduce yourself, brother? Much love, G.
So yeah, we're working on a really cool project. Actually, we're really excited about it. My wife Priscilla and I went ahead and bought a 36-foot RV, and we are going to be hitting the road in January, first week of January, so that we can start to record and gather content on all of the cannabis happenings in the country. From medical to lifestyle to business. We want to make sure that we're giving everybody an equal playing ground and equal opportunity to get their business or their lifestyle or whatever it is out there to the open public.
You want to give them a quick background on you? Let them know what you've been doing in the industry for the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. So I started out with CANiCare Docs up here in New England as just kind of a team member with them, and quickly took over the office in New London. From there, I was promoted up to district manager and then took on some marketing roles with them. Unfortunately, at the beginning of COVID, after I was marketing director for their New England territory, COVID hit and that hit us all hard. So I was unfortunately laid off there, but I joined up with Curaleaf as their marketing director for Connecticut. I was with them for a rebrand of 4 Connecticut dispensaries, and then again COVID and another layoff. So then I've stumbled upon CANiVISION through some mutual friends of ours, and here we are.
Much love, man. We're so happy to have him on the team. And starting in January, we're actually going to have a CANiVISION Winnebago,
Right.
going to all the hot spots. Joe, you're going to hit the inauguration, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. We're looking at getting some really good footage of. I mean, I want to talk to everybody. Politicians and just constituents alike. I think it's going to be a really interesting thing to kind of gauge the temperature as far as cannabis goes, especially in DC with the psychedelic community that's opening up over there. So a lot of stuff to talk about.
I want to first introduce our team. We're going to get better with communication and everything. We actually hired a communication director for our team, Dan Evans, and he'll be on our next broadcast. You'll see him a lot live with us when we go do our podcast. We have Kat Ing. She's actually in the house with us today. She's going to be she's going to be covering Los Angeles with Michelle Ching. And we have Chris Jackson. He might not have been able to crawl away from the dispensary, but he is our Midwest regional production leader. He's been doing a great job with the podcast. You're going to see a little bit of his action today. And we also have Raj Shander. I don't think he can make it. He is actually working at the dispensary 2 today. So he is out he actually lives in Bethesda, Maryland, but he's going to be covering the Southeast region. So everything Maryland over to DC and down. He has a lot of political connections down there. And we have Gary George up in Newark, rounding the team off as of now. So now that we are in December, I'm going to introduce a little bit of what phase 2 is for CANiVISION. Phase 1 was just these first 3 months. Like I said, the first month is what the hell happened. Today, we're going to be talking about, okay, what now? A little bit of the political realm. And the last one that we're going to be having at the end of this month with me leading them. Our team is going to keep these going on. I'll be on with the team, but I won't be leading. And that one is going to be, okay, what's next? So we're going to have industry giants talking about what to expect into 2021, post-election. You're going to see a lot of blood in the water as you guys starting to see some of these giants are falling in the industry. And we all knew it was coming, but it's still crazy to see it happening. This has nothing to do with Washington that we know of yet. So if we do hear some of that stuff, we will get the microphones out to the people out in the field, let them tell their story on that. But we just do not want to put anything out there like that until we do make sure that it is vetted for obvious reasons. We don't want to libel anybody. But we just don't want to get into the business of being a tabloid. We are not a tabloid. We care about transparency. We care about vetted information. We care about everybody in the industry getting the same access to the opportunities that the people at the top do. And if they don't, you have a opportunity to use our platform to tell your story too. So tonight, so we weren't able to be in the studio. We had to do an about face, but we did want to give you guys a awesome preview to all the work that we have been doing. We have over 60 hours of content already compiled, and the platform is up and running. All right, so tonight we're going to be going through this video in just a second. So we have about 1 to 2 minutes teasers each, and you're going to see some of what the team has been up to. The only person without any content on there is Gary George. Gary had a huge event. It was awesome too, and that was out of Newark just last week. So he is going to be full force with us starting in December. But I was able to speak with a lot of people on the East Coast, especially New Jersey, and because everybody knows how crazy New Jersey went down this year, and they got to get their equity thing together too. So at the end of the day, politicians are politicians, and it will be all good. Fred, you want to say something to the crowd before we get going here?
Yo, what's going on, party people? I'm so used to being like right next to you kind of era, but we get it, you know. Thank you everybody for your support. It's been an amazing ride so far. If y'all have watched Rico's vibe and ethos, he is straight on fire. You know, he doesn't want to make this the Rico show, but at the end of the day, that's why he's stepping back and he's just giving everybody a brain transplant so they can all just go forth and just get it out there in the marketplace. I mean, because at the end of the day, this is all about the emerging markets and what's going on out there, and giving you a platform so that you too can just really get out here and have a voice. And it's working. I mean, we've had some major breaking news that's just been so unbelievable. We're just like, okay, so now we got to go vet that. And what about this well? And what about that well? So, so we still got some more stuff that we're working for you in the background. They got their CANiVISION thing. I've got my little mirrors right here. It kind of looks like the CANiVISION logo. I can put 3 fingers up. There you go, Rico. You like that better?
I like it, man. I like it.
Her logo. Yeah. So, so at the end of the day, though, you know, we thank you for your support. Thank you for your trust. And thank you for letting us actually being here for us during the very, very rough and rocky start. But it's like I told Rico earlier, sometimes if there's a bomb in the room, you just got to defuse it early before it explodes. Much love to everybody and your support. Thank you for our 3,000 plus new, and you didn't talk about that. He's holding back, guys. Go ahead, Rico. He's smiling.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a blackout while we expanded.
It's not a blackout. What's it called?
It was a legacy out. So we had a little bit of a blackout on communications for a little bit there because we had a slew of very, very, very sensitive information come in, and we had to make sure that we were protected legally. Number one. Number two, we had to expand the team. We needed to get a communication director. We have expanded organically while we shut everything down and rebuilt on the back end here. Like 3,000 new people on board with us. I was like, holy shit.
Thank you. Seriously, let's ride. And to everybody, y'all see something, holler at us. We got the bat line. Doesn't matter. You can stay anonymous. We'll make sure everything's vetted out, but we definitely appreciate all the super hot tips because that's why I got a bald head, because it's just burning my hair off. So we good.
Right. Yeah. And Joe's going to be able to go out there and check those stories out. So that is the cool thing about where we are taking the show going forward. We have created a Hydra. We have built a Hydra. Yes, it is going to be nuts. And so when we get those hot tips and they come out vetted on the back end of things for me and Fred, as long as we can check out everything, and we'll check out everybody's sources. I'll do a lot of background vetting. We're going to send Joe out there to all over the place. We're actually speaking with some folks down in the Southeast too. We have a prospect in South Carolina who has an inside line to Joe Biden. So I'm excited to speak with her. And we have a couple of other folks too. So we have
wait. You can't be coming out the gate that big, bro. He just said it like nobody was even paying attention. I'm gonna call him out.
Hey man, like this was just a hunch that I had, and it was burning deep within my heart after we closed out CANiGather about like 6 months ago now, a little over 6 months. And I really, really, really just didn't sit well with the way that the media was going. And there's a lot of stories that needed to be told. And the more that I reached out, the more people had stories and the more people were willing to tell their stories because they were getting just smothered. There's a media legacy out going on right now. And I understand that those people are hurting too. So the media is hurting. So they're going to go with people who are going to be paying their bills. And that's okay with us. We're just going to go to the other side of those stories. We are not anti anything at all. We are not anti-corporation. We're not anti-big business. We are not anti-big media. No, we are just counter that because we know there are always three sides of every story. So we want to make sure that we get a more well-rounded view of everything that goes on in our industry because it helps everybody. It doesn't matter what side of the industry you're on, doesn't matter how deep your pockets are. If you get bad information, it's bad information. And people are hurting because of that. And if LA just got shut down again, people are going to be hurting. And you're going to have more information being suppressed. So watch out for that. And the more that we hear about that, the more we're going to get that information more timely out to you. Justin Bernstein on our team is going to be starting up our newsletter pretty soon here. We have our blog that we just launched, and the names that we're going to be on tonight that you're going to be seeing. So we have Dale Sky Jones, Executive Chancellor of Oaksterdam. That's out here in California. James Victor and John Henry, co-founders of James Henry. They're a brand out of Oakland as well, but both of those fellas are from the East Coast, one from New York by way of Haiti.
And shout out, they're doing some big things, straight on fire. I really had an enjoyable time with you guys. Thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Yes, much love, brothers. Yeah, and they came in and got some great content in with us. We got like 4 hours in together. It was amazing. Buck Angel, what up, Buck? And Buck Angel from Buck Angel Entertainment. Joe Grumbine, what up, Joe? CEO of Coca-Cola. He is the OG, one of the originals. Ishke Hillman, as I said, she is the founder of Cannabis Babes out here in Long Beach, California. We have Margot Bruner. and she is the Director of Compliance and Diversity and Inclusion at Red, White, and Bloom in Michigan. Jamie Cooper, what up, Jamie? She's the founder and CEO of Sensi Connect out in Michigan. I actually met Jamie on a speed networking event. And Sammy Rogers, he's the founder of Higher Learning out in Michigan, a higher learning institution out in Michigan too. So you're going to see a small snippet of his story from Michigan out with Chris. Like what Chris and his co-host Tatiana are doing out there is incredible. So if you guys haven't checked out their podcast, either the video podcast or the audio podcast, please go visit their page on Facebook. It is CANiVISION Midwest. And we have a little bit of Leo Bridgewater, big bro, Leo Bridgewater out in New Jersey, a huge activist, cannabis activist, is a U.S. Army veteran, and he is the primary reason why veterans maintain their benefits, their VA benefits, even if they test positive for THC. Of course, I got a little bit of Gaetano Lardieri on here. Gaetano, what's up, brother? And he is a force to be reckoned with out in New Jersey. We also have Mike Crawford. He's the founder of the Young Jerks out in Massachusetts. And we also have, and closing it out, we're going to have James Jackson. And he is the partner over at Mark Edward Partners. And the way we're going to be doing this is I'm going to play the video. I'm going to first give a intro that Kat and Michelle gave me, just giving a little background on some of the stuff that they went over in the full video with Dale and with Buck Angel. And so the CANiVISION California team is beginning to focus on different educational institutions that exist within the cannabis realm. We know that growth in the industry is appealing and will spark renewed interest when entering the cannabis job market. They spoke with Dale Sky Jones from Oaksterdam, the longest running Cannabis Institute of Higher Learning, about what is to come. And they also spoke with Buck Angel. He is the creator of the first CBD Viagra, and about his product, Buckshot. It's all about caniculture, cannabis in every recovery space. So we're gonna get the tape rolling right now, and then we will be pausing after we go through California, so I can introduce the people from Michigan, which is the next track. And that's the Midwest, and we're expanding the Midwest. We already have our first expansion coming out. So if Chris is able to leave the dispensary, he's going to talk a little bit about that. And we have our franchises, they're starting to pop up everywhere. So without further ado, Mr. Stallsworth, you want to hit that track, brother?
And finding monies for equity. For me, it was always about the budget. So when we worked towards legalization, it was about ensuring that the money didn't all just go back to law enforcement or the general fund, that it actually went to research, that it went to community groups, that it importantly went to nonprofit community groups in order to rehabilitate the very communities decimated by the drug war. And so now we're seeing those programs in real life in cities like LA and San Francisco, as well as Illinois. There's now equity components around the country. I believe Arizona just incorporated them, Missouri incorporated them. And so it's really exciting to see now a new evolution of training the very people who have been just annihilated and helping them be successful and start to build their own intergenerational wealth.
I think that, we have to have a conversation around, a lot of what has gone on the past few years, and that is kind of like this revival of, the outward vocal racists in this country. And unfortunately, from this past election, we've seen that, 50% of our neighbors and our community members have voted for an individual that has not, I don't think, been kind to the Black and brown community. And so with that being said, it's about having progressive conversations moving forward on both sides. There's a lot of movement and traction going on with the Black Lives Matter as the movement, not the corporation. Just want to separate those. And the thing, absolutely, brother. So, in saying that from a medical and a health equity perspective and everything, when we start talking about the mental health of the Black and brown community, I mean, we are coming from a place, whether we realize it or not, of having conversations with our parents as children that, you know, some of our constituents that are not Black and brown have never had to endure or go through in their lives, right?
More research, further research, so that they can actually provide the help that their patients need. We are blessed to be, you know, some of our investors are great friends, as well as our colleagues that we work with and we partner with the Knox doctors. They have set the big shout out to the Knox, man. You know, like they have catapulted and set the wave in terms of making it very normalized, so that other medical doctors see that and say, hey, they don't look like stoners. They look like they know information about cannabis. I actually feel comfortable asking them if they can break down the science, the medical aspect of it, and learn a little bit more. So I think that just that natural, innate energy of wanting to know more is actually creating this new paradigm that doctors are taking in this information, they're doing their research, and they're backing it up with their own findings, right. And they're taking that out to their environments and their groups, their collective, as well as their patients. So I think we're looking at cannabis from a different set of lens, like within the next 5 years.
I actually did listen to it. Well, let's go backwards a little bit.
Okay.
How are you doing from yesterday?
Oh my God. I mean, really? Are we actually, I thought Biden was going to win by a landslide. Now, I mean, you might not have voted for Biden or whatever. I'm not particularly care about him. I don't think he's a great candidate, but he's the lesser of two evils is exactly how I feel. So that being said, I cannot believe we're like literally in a race right now, 50-50. That blows my mind.
You know, what's funny, I went to my mom's yesterday. She lives in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different vibe. Because I'm here in West Hollywood.
Me too.
Every other store is boarded up.
Yep.
It's a trip. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Same here. I live literally on like Sunset and Fairfax. So we live very close to each other, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm on the other side for my side is Los Angeles. Your side is West Hollywood. Everything here on Sunset is boarded up. Everything. Because
it's so interesting to see how that plays on your psyche, because I realize, again, I knew when I went to my mom's, it would be a different vibe. Yeah. The second off the freeway, Sprouts was boarding up again. It was like, wow, you know.
Yeah. For better or for worse. So let's start out with for better. Mm-hmm. So for better, the stigma of cannabis is diminished considerably. Right. It's not a scary word to as many people. Law enforcement is generally taking a more progressive look at it, making a lower priority. California's passed laws. I think there's only 3 states in the union now that are completely prohibited as of this last election cycle. So the overall turn, I think, is positive. There's more people involved. Mm-hmm. That goes both ways. There was a time where I think that most of the people involved had some kind of integrity. They were willing to take a risk, so there's a certain level of integrity that goes with that. Now there's a lot of new money involved that's just about the money, and that's good and bad. I mean, you know, it empowers somebody, a guy who has a lot of experience and no money, and a guy who has a lot of money and no experience. Those two can create something amazing, and sometimes they do. So I think there's a lot more opportunity than ever before. That's the positive side of things.
Yeah, you know, all the politics and everything is, I mean, it's really just a distraction, right? Yeah. Like, it's a distraction of two sides fighting. My side's right, your side's right. They each have their own issues, and, you know, I definitely feel that, you know, and I did vote for Biden. That
you're not afraid to say that. You're not the.
I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to say that.
You're not the silent majority that stands for Biden.
What? No.
There's like a silent majority.
Look, look, people can do whatever they want. I don't care who people vote for. I just want them to vote. I am always open with who I vote for, because I'm open with everything in my life. Because
you're open with who you are. You're comfortable.
That's who I am. Like, that is, and but look, I'm also more than happy to have a conversation with someone who voted for Trump as to why they did, because I think it's essential, especially right now that we have seen how many people did vote for him. Again, that we understand why, what are their issues, because for the Democrats, I'm sorry, but for the Democrats to simply say that if you voted, and for people to say if you voted for Trump, you're a racist, it's more complicated than that, right? Like it's
so complicated.
You can't just simplify it like that.
Pause it just for a second there. It's like a little bit of, we got into some really, really deep conversations, like right after, obviously our country is on edge from everything that's going on right now, everything that just happened. And the majority of those interviews were done like either the day, the interviews you're going to see today, the little snippets were done either the day right before the election. A couple of them were the day of and the day after. So tensions were running high. And it's very, very interesting to see like how pragmatic that our industry people are. I know we have like a lot of people that are really, really hard right or left. And I think what a lot of people on the East Coast are finding out is there's plenty of red-blooded conservatives in this game on the West Coast. And it's not always what you think. And I truly believe that cannabis being the communal plant that it is, disarms people, and you can actually start having these conversations that need to be had. We are being pitted against each other by a lot of media propaganda, and that's pretty much it. At the end of the day, we have to push everybody in the industry forward, and you have to make sure that we're going forward and everybody's making money, because this is a green industry, both on the money side and on the agricultural side. And we have to protect it with everything that we got, because we don't have to be as polarized when it comes to politics, period. You want to add something, Fred?
I was saying Justin made a good point. He's like, cannabis is one of the few bipartisan issues today, and we'll have to do it together. Because the cool thing about it is, regardless of whatever side you voted for, Green won, and it won big time, and it's still going to continue to keep winning. So we have to really position ourselves so that we are able to take advantage of it. This is a capitalist society, as far as I know, still. So let's capitalize on it, but let's do it together and keep it flower centric.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I really wanted to get these people out in front of you and show you larger videos, but we had so much good stuff that we wanted to give you just snippets of everything. And as we're going to leak these one by one, not the full videos, but we're going to be leaking like more of this content one by one, in hopes to show everybody that cannabis really, it is a well-rounded plant when it comes to the actual products and ideas. And it's the best of people, period. So I know Guy Tano thinks otherwise, but we'll get into that another time. So in this next track, before we get started on this, so if you guys have not seen his podcast, man, this guy he's incredible. So he not only is he not only the NCIA chair, but he is a multi license holding business owner in Michigan. He's a mogul, man. He has teamed up with Tatiana Grant, who was actually on CANiVISION with me once, and she also did the Ebony Magazine Juneteenth Opportunity Summit. And she's a force to be reckoned with too. So she's a license holder. He is too. And since he's not on here to give the introduction, I want to give a little background on the stories, and you can find these video podcasts. And so this is before we even had a budget, before any of our investor money started rolling in. So the videos are a little rough, but it's crazy how much that he put into this. As you see, if anybody knows me and Fred and the rest of the team out here, how much we have been doing behind the scenes, even before any money came rolling in. It just goes to show that these stories need to get out, and we really care about the industry. And you can see there's a ticker going on there. I got to get a ticker going on everything that I'm doing whenever I'm going live, Fred. These stories are incredible. So I'm gonna go through these really quickly before Joe hits play. Margot Brunner, the story that he did with her, the podcast that they did. And so she is the director of compliance and diversity, inclusion, and Red, White, and Bloom out of Michigan. So like all of these stories are just so emotional. There's so much going on in Michigan, and nobody would even think that. So the first story with Margot Brunner. So she and Tatiana are going back and forth about social equity. So this is why it's so important that we get these stories out, because every single one of these states are making the same exact mistakes. And Michigan is going through it. When they had their social equity plan roll out, you're going to see a little bit of it. You're going to see a little snippet of it right there. It's just not what anybody thinks it's going to be. Chicago was supposed to be like, oh, the best plan ever. It wasn't. Detroit as well. Or excuse me, Detroit as well. It wasn't. It's a huge opportunity for a lot of people, but a lot of people are getting pushed out of the industry at the same time. It's happening every single place that social equity rolls out. And I love the philosophy behind it. I love the idea behind it, but it's not working. And we need to retool that. And the Knox doctors, I don't know if they're on here with us today, they even suggested not calling it social equity anymore. It already comes with an asterisk. It is equity. It's community equity, health equity, and pushing forward that messaging because everybody has their own definition for it. At the end of the day, just Google the definition. That's your homework assignment, everybody. It's very, very vague. So it can be rescinded by pretty much anybody. And here in California, it's discretionary spending. So see how that's going. The next one is Jamie Cooper. So she's Sensi Connect. They're going to be talking a little bit about brands, celebrity-driven brands, and is it worth it? So a very, very interesting conversation, and highly, highly, highly recommended episode for everybody to watch if you're dealing with celebrities in the industry, or if you are looking to take any celebrity brand ambassadors on. Two very prominent women that are in the business and that have brought on celebrities, and they have their own thoughts on how that went. And then Sammy Rogers. And so Sammy, oh man, that's crazy, crazy, crazy story. So he actually got funding from Meriter Capital, and he ended up driving from Michigan out to New York, and he was absolutely broke. He had spent his last dollars building up his company, and he really didn't have anything, like at all. And he went out there for a pitch contest, and you're going to be able to see the full story if you go to their podcast page. So you want to go run these for everybody, please, Joe?
It is. And one, I'm glad that it's over, because you just kind of like, you needed to have the other shoe drop. So the complex portion of opting in for the city of Detroit is that the city of Detroit followed a social equity plan for their legacy Detroiters that might look common to what happens in other places, but it looked different than what had happened previously in the state of Michigan. So if I were to tell a person in the state of Illinois, one state over, that we adopted a social equity plan where half of the licenses went to people in that particular municipality and half of those went to industry people, and there's supposed to be some partnerships, that would not be very shocking to people in other places. It was a definite shock to the licensees in the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan, because I don't think they had previously been forced to consider having to partner with municipal people.
Jamie, you want to go first as our guest?
Sure. What we're seeing happening in Michigan is a lot of celebrities based outside of Michigan wanting to come in and partner with some of the operators who obviously have foot the entire build out costs, all that stuff. And for the most part, they're asking for a pretty penny. I mean, they really, there's the great thing about partnering up with a celebrity brand is it's great PR. It's incredible PR. You're going to get that, because people want, attract to those big names, but there's a high price to pay for that. And I feel like a lot of what we see is the consumer is really looking at price and quality, you know, before they're looking at the actual names and who it's by. Yeah, they're probably going to try it just to try it, but it's not going to be the one of the brands that they're going to continue to buy repeatedly. They're going to try it because they're going to be able to say, hey, I did try Jay-Z's strain, you know, it was awesome. And just to say that they did. That's kind of my opinion about it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as you're establishing your brand, as Jamie said, it helps you get the impressions and the viewership and the exposure that you need. I think, yes, there's definitely always a heavy price tag associated with it. It definitely appears that the white labeling model is going to be across the board. I remember even before I was really in the industry, when I was just kind of doing my research, I connected with a brand that was out in California, and then as I started doing my research, I found out that they were white labeling here in Michigan, and I was connected with the growers that they were associated with, the growers and processors that they were associated with here in Michigan. And so that's when I realized, like, oh, this is how this is going to work. And of course, the local brand that they're even with is a large local brand. So, you know, again, I think it goes back to resources and the ability to scale.
Not saying no names?
Not going to say any names.
But I'm going to tell you like this. So let's say, for example, we all grew up growing potatoes, right?
Yeah.
That was the thing. We farm potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say come 20, 30 years down the line, the government comes in and say, growing potatoes and selling potatoes is an illegal substance. Now it's a drug. You caught selling that, you get a felony. But that's all you've known your whole life. Selling potatoes.
Right.
That's how you made a living. That's how your family thrived. That was basically your side thing that helped y'all keep going, right? Now that it's illegal. Fast forward, your cousins, your uncles, your daddies, relatives, neighbors, so on and so forth, all been getting locked up because they still decided to sell potatoes on the side, on the black market.
Right.
Fast forward another 20, 30 years from there. Now, potatoes are moved off of the drug list. It's now legal. You just watch that industry go by. If your friends, family, everybody getting locked up from it. And now you have another specific group of people that are set to make billions of dollars in the potato industry.
With a B.
Billions, yeah. And here you are having to fight and claw your way back into an industry that you already know. You've known it your whole life. This is what you do. This is what your family have done. You've known this. And now these individuals are now about to make all the money. And you were just shunned for it. And you still have people that are still in prison for it selling potatoes. That's the best analogy that I can use to try to help other individuals from outside of our circles understand, because you do have a lot of potato farmers out in Idaho. And just imagine what happened to them and their, you know, saying their livelihoods and so on and so forth when they can't sell potatoes anymore. It's like just having that thought process and being able to put them into that realm of thinking like, well, damn, that is kind of fucked up.
Man, some heavy stuff out there, man. And it's not as sunshiny and rainbowy as everybody thinks that it is, especially out when a lot of these emerging markets are making the same mistakes that we went through in the established markets, whether it's California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, you name it. And a lot of it just has to do with politics. You break it down, it's just politics. A lot of the corporations and the politicians, they want their cut. You see what's going on in New Jersey right now. I know we just had Lori Ajax step down, and Lori Ajax is a very, very nice woman. However, she didn't have any background in the cannabis industry. And they're putting people in power that are running these. This is a startup, right? So not just CANiVISION, but the cannabis industry overall. And they're trying to regulate this, and they don't know what they're doing. A lot of they don't know how the supply chain works. in the cannabis industry. Big alcohol is not big cannabis. Big tobacco, big pharma is not cannabis. And a lot of these legislators, they just do not understand that. And hopefully a lot of these states going forward, they'll have more people that are well versed within the industry, that'll put things off on the right foot. So I'm going to break down a little bit of these clips, and we just only have a few more. I didn't want to keep everybody too long tonight. Just wanted to give you guys some snippets. We have a lot, so much more.
And also, Rico, I was going to say, guys, please, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, please just send us some comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, because we're always working to make sure that this is the highest and best use of your time and you're getting the most accurate information that we can get to you.
All right, so this last strip that we're going to be going through is the Northeast, and we have one video from Raj, and we're going to be ending on Puerto Rico. So Leo Bridgewater, for those of you who do not know Leo, he is a huge champion of the plant, veterans, people, communities of color, and he's the big bro, right? He's one of the first people of color that I actually met on the business side of cannabis. I know it doesn't really seem like it's that big of a deal, but it is, especially if you are a person of color. You actually see somebody across the room that actually has some kind of business acumen. When I got in a little over 4 years ago, I was like, there's always like one other black guy. There's always like one other black dude or a black woman like in the room, like like kind of like a Spider-Man meme. But yeah, like Leo, incredible person, incredible soul, and he was at the forefront pushing the entire legalization movement. And I know Gaetano has a little bit to say here too. Maybe we can leave that for the comments at the end, Guy, because you have a piece on here also. But we had a long talk. This is when I first introduced Leo. This is right before the vote. When I first introduced Leo to Fred on our team, and we talked a lot. We had like a damn near 3-hour conversation that night. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was the first time out the gate. I want to touch this just for like 30 seconds. To really have somebody who's super passionate about it, and you could tell that he would maybe he even has done it for free. I mean, he's just literally, this is all he eats, sleeps, and breathes. So it's interesting to watch these dynamics in real time, because again, there's some industries out there where people are so established and things are already so in place, to Rico's point, that they're no longer thought about. So this is the perfect chance and the opportunity for all of us to really figure out who's who in the zoo, whose lane is whose, and we can all help each other and connect each other through mediums and platforms like this.
Absolutely. And in this particular clip, he was talking about a veterans employment program that he was getting pushed through. Maybe Gaetano, at the end of this, we can see, or if you can put it in the chat, if this actually got pushed through with the bill, because I know a lot of stuff did not, including equity. There was no mention of equity at all in the bill. And the only reason the bill got pushed through in the first place on the ballot initiative was because of equity. So I'm gonna buzz real quick and say little blurbs about all of the rest of the videos, and we can just let it run through until right before the last one, Joe. So let me give a quick rundown here. I'll be very, very, very fast. All right, so we have Leo Bridgewater just gave that rundown. We also have Justin Johnson, founder, CEO of BuzzFeed, New York. Awesome guy. We got a little bit into why New York needs to legalize now, and obviously to take care of the community more than anything else. Gaetano Lardieri, I won't spoil that one for you, Guy, but it was his reaction to New Jersey going first. And we also have Mike Crawford of the Young Jerks, and just talking a little bit about what equity means in Massachusetts, and what legalization means too. And we're going to be ending that track for, well, I guess we can end it at this track. So it's James Jackson, partner at Mark Edward Partners. And then the next one is Jess Otha Smith, and he's the founder of Tetragram. If anybody has the app, I don't know where my phone is, but awesome app. If you're new to the industry, if you're new to consuming, I highly recommend. And he is not a sponsor yet, but highly recommend trying out the Tetragram app, because it's like a Hiree, right? I've always wanted to have a Hiree, just like to really record how your body interacts with how your endocannabinoid system interacts when those substances are introduced to your body. And it's awesome. It's very, very intuitive too. So check that out. And he's out of Bowie, Maryland. And then we're going to end it on Stephen Cutter. He's the founder of hempfuture.io. We don't need to stop it anymore, just run through. And then after Stephen Cutter with the final segment, we'll leave it on for a little bit. So if anybody wants to chat about anything, we can definitely chat, because I know this was kind of an impromptu broadcast this evening, but we didn't want to leave everybody hanging. So DJ, play that track. As well.
Yeah, like we're working with the
industry?
department. Yeah, the Department of Labor is actually going to start listing a lot of these jobs on their intranet. You see what I'm saying? Because they have a special section that actually deals with just veterans as well. And so
that's
now
it's really fantastic, man.
Yeah, so now we'll be able to flood these dispensaries with the veteran caseload of the Department of Labor. But right now, you know, like in total right now, there's only 9 dispensaries in the entire state of New Jersey that are actually open. And there's another 12 that's waiting to find out if they're going to be able to get a license, because there's a lawsuit that's holding that whole process up. And so, you know, what you will see, especially in New Jersey, is that once this thing goes through, and then once this lawsuit is settled, then you'll see a succession of RFAs. You see what I'm saying? Because the first thing, RFA is a request for application. That's when the state announces to the public that they're accepting applications for a license here in New Jersey. And so what they're going to want to do first is they're going to want to make sure that they shore up the New Jersey medical marijuana program, because historically, whenever a state goes to adult use, it's sort of kind of like medical sort of kind of disappears a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And so to prevent that from happening, as we've seen in California and other places, other states, you know, they want to shore up the foundations of the medical marijuana program. So when I first got in 2015, there were only 7,000 people enrolled in the medical marijuana program. Today, it's 90,000. And the goal is to get to 270. Now, that's, you know, we're averaging somewhere between, I think, 2,500 people signing up into the medical marijuana program a month, especially with COVID. And like I said, you know, when you look at the whole COVID situation, you see how states were, you know, they was fucking up at first because they was, you know, we're non-essential, now we're essential, you know what I'm saying? And the entire state qualifies for a medical marijuana card. Matter of fact, the entire country, the world, just off of anxiety. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so now, you know, these are all factors that are actually at play right now. You know what I'm saying? And again, factors as to why, you know, the fact that for African Americans in the cannabis space in New Jersey, we're going to be shafted, and a lot of it is going to be self-inflicted, because we were late. Leadership in the state was late in engaging in the overall conversation.
New York, and New York being the outlier in the Northeast as far as cannabis progress. All right, so is there a lot of tension? Like, I've been hearing a lot of like shit talk from my good people up in Massachusetts, my good people down in New Jersey, even more. What do you see as changing or do you even see anything changing or speeding up because of those election results? In particular, in New Jersey, who is tied right to you, like right across the bridge, who's probably going to be taking a lot of that tax revenue New York is missing out on.
Yeah, I mean, it's who were we talking about earlier?
Like Leo Bridgewater.
Yeah, Leo. Yeah. So I heard Leo speak the other day, and he said it really eloquently, in that, like, people from New York go to Jersey to shop. People from Jersey go to Pennsylvania to get gas. And he, you know, I'm not going to do it justice, but I think what it's going to do is it's going to create availability to a lot of people who aren't inclined to go through the plug. I think if you have a plug, you're going to continue to probably go to that person for a long time. It's, unless, going back to the other discussion we were having is like, if there's not, proper equity programs put in place, which they didn't pass in the law, and they're trying to get in through amendments right now, right? They're trying to get some sort of representation in these laws. If those don't pass, then your buddy who's the plug probably isn't going to go legal, and you're going to continue to go to the guy and support that guy. You support that guy and let him get a dispensary, and you give him an opportunity to get a dispensary. Tell you what, the legacy market's going to drift away pretty quickly because you're bringing these people into the cannabis industry versus competing against them after having been established for a long time. So
tell us about the magnitude. What does the legalization of New Jersey mean to the local community in New Jersey? What does it mean to the cannabis community? And what does it mean to like the nation, I guess, looking forward on legislation with all the remaining states?
Well, I think this is a step in the right direction to right the injustices from the last 80 years of the so-called war on drugs. So this is a step in the right direction to right all those wrongs, actually. So, well, now we're just, like I said, we'll get it in the assembly and then work on the legislation. And I'm looking forward to see a lot of great people at the table in those negotiations. Governor Murphy just appointed Diana Waynu to the Cannabis Commission and Jeff Brown. So those are two great people. Those are the people we need to have a seat at the table. So when we work all this out, the people who need to be made up for, will have a voice at the table. Yeah.
Biden and Harris are the president and vice president elect. What does that mean to the New England cannabis community? Is it a positive, negative? What's your take?
I think it means that we need to get vocal. Like the big thing is the Senate is probably still going to be a Republican. And there's going to be 2 more seats that come up in the Georgia election. But, even if the Democrats win that, it's going to be really tight that they're just barely going to have control of the Senate. But more likely, it's the Republicans who are still going to be in charge. So I don't think anything is really going to change on a federal level in terms of legislation. However, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the president-elect and the vice president-elect, they made some promises. They made some statements.
And they left it out. They left it out of the transition shit.
Then that's where we need to say, hey, we have the receipts here. You said you talked about descheduling. That is something, you can blame it on Mitch McConnell in the Senate. We understand that you're not going to get what we'd like to see passed in the Senate. But the president has the ability to deschedule. The president has the ability to do a lot of things with banking. And this industry is so ridiculous where we're still worried about, accepting money on PayPal for CBD. I mean, this is a legal product so there's a lot the president can do, and we need to hold him accountable and say, you know what, we supported you, especially if you did support him, like I supported him. One of my first statements after the day after was like, we supported you. Now it's time to get to work on cannabis. Like you made us some promises, and you're not going to leave those out now. And we have those on tape. So, and you're going to need us in 4 years.
You are offering that olive branch as a major player in the industry. That's absolutely huge. Yeah. And your flexibility and your ability to work with people, no matter what your company's capital size is, that's huge. I can't say how big that is, and just like kicking game to them too on how they can protect themselves.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the biggest thing for me, honestly. And being in the cannabis industry, it's a collaborative industry. We ultimately want to see the industry grow and win as a whole, right? Like that's a win for everybody.
Right.
For me, any work that I can do on the front end to help protect the company, I want to be able to do. I guess the biggest thing, and kind of to your point, right? Everybody that you worked with have had losses, had issues. I think the thing in the cannabis industry and you know, some of the clients and prospects I deal with is sometimes just getting out of that legacy mind state, right? Like that legacy market mind state that you got to keep 500 a mil aside just in case you lose a crop, just in case you get raided, just in case, you know, a catastrophic event happens and you lose everything.
Right.
We now have insurance in place so that you can, that same concept of when you set that money aside is there for a lot cheaper than you setting that cash aside and also being able to use that cash and put it back into the business to be able to scale. So
sure. So once you download Tetragram, one thing I always want to stress is that it is HIPAA compliant too. So it's very important when you initially create an account that you verify your email in order to have that encryption from front to back. But Tetragram gives you the ability to not only keep track of the product you bought, whether that be a THC product or a CBD product, but you're also able to enter in all the different terpenes and cannabinoids associated with those products, which, as we know, is very vital information. You're also able to enter in where you made the purchase. And the other big importance of Tetragram is you can put in the consumption method. So did you smoke? Did you do it orally or was it topically? And then you can use a unit of measurement if it's inhaling to be like, you know, number of hits or number of milligrams if it's orally or topically. And so that way you can save all that information and then keep it on your phone.
Got it. So is the idea to have people sort of like log it right as they're consuming or right afterwards? What's the ideal timing there?
Typically it's going to be a couple hours after you consume because depending upon the type of product, it's going to have a certain amount of time before it takes set.
Right. Okay, got you. So you like to have them get the full extent of the product. That makes sense. Okay.
Exactly. So cool. You know, it's right now we're in about 35 dispensaries here in Maryland, and a number of and a bunch in other states too. So it's really taken off organically.
Possibilities are absolutely endless there. And so what you're doing and just like helping the community out there is just, I can't just say like how phenomenal that is and how refreshing it is to see somebody doing that in today's space, right? Did you see a lot of pushback from the local communities when you guys first came out there? Like, how did they greet you and your team when you guys were getting started?
Puerto Rico is one of the top 15 happiest places voted in the world consistently, and so people here are pretty good natured, and there's a long history in Puerto Rico. I mean, it was the first island Columbus found, and there's a history of mistrust. A lot of people don't like things that have happened here over the years, you know, and but I've only been welcomed with open arms to everybody. I think they see the things we're working on and they want to help them exist. And when you focus on community-centered practices, and I've been planning this for a long time, you know, I've had the idea Friend for the Future 9 years ago. And so to make sure that everywhere you go, you know, that you go to the community and ask them what they need and see what solutions you can help with, instead of going to a community and saying, this is what you need, you know? So it's been a great learning experience for me, being in a new culture, you know, and very, very rewarding and grateful to everyone I've met along this journey.
Such beautiful music.
So pretty.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed the little bit of a preview that we had this evening. There's like so much more stuff that I was telling Fred before we even hopped on this evening. I'm like, dude, like we have like a studio to go to. But I think we're gonna be good like through the rest of the month, so we can go focus on the infrastructure side of this. And just what to expect before we hop off here is a lot more from us. We're going to be super loud for the rest of the month. It's a couple of like real big breaking stories that we're not going to talk about yet, but make sure you guys check into our Facebook. We're really heavy on Instagram and on Facebook. So big shout out to Franklin on our team. He's been actually absolutely killing the game out there, and we're gonna be doing a lot more. So from the, I guess, founders standpoint, I'm going to be a lot more visible now that we do have more of a scalable machine, more and more every day. Fred, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Getting a little better. We have more of a scalable machine, and we're just hitting the ground running. I'm sad Chris is not on here. We're gonna we probably have to do a live so we can talk a little bit about the expansion that we're doing in the Midwest already. He's the first of our crew, but you're gonna see at the end of this month, the Hydra is gonna start multiplying, and all of the spokes that we have right now. Everybody knows we have a hub and spoke model currently, and the spokes are going to be turning into hubs. Last week or the week before last, when they started rumbling that LA is going to shut down again, and people just kept on partying and they didn't give a shit. We knew that this was coming, and I just wanted to make sure we're getting the information out. So we might tweak the platform a little bit to go full digital and not live hybrid like we were thinking before, but we'll get you guys that information as soon as possible. We want to make sure everybody has the best experience possible, and this 3-month rollout was really important that we laid the foundation of what we're trying to accomplish, and before we entered phase 2, which is the Hydra, light that match and just walk away. We want to make sure that it is 100% decentralized. Yeah, I'll be a founder, but I'm not going to be in one central place telling people like what they need to do. Just know that everything will be vetted. So everything from a central standpoint of the company, if we rebroadcast something from our network, it will be vetted through and through. And we are not in the business of gossip or anything like that. So please keep those hot tips coming. Like so far, all of them have been A1, but if it's just a rumor, just leave it in the rumor bin, send that over to XYZ, send it over to somebody else. We're not looking for rumors. We want to make sure that people get good information, transparent business practices, and call out people in the industry. They're wasting our time, period. Like I said, Rome is burning around us, as you guys see, and our industry that we love so much. Some of us are newbies in the industry, and that is okay. But just know those new people coming in, they're getting ripped off too. So make sure that people are protected in this industry, and make sure the people who are not doing the right thing, call them out. Call them out. They're ruining it for all of us. And next thing you know, we're all just gonna get screwed, and nobody's gonna be making money. It's gonna get taken over by government and big corporate. All right, info@CANiVISION.com. Make sure you guys check us out, CANiVISION.global on Instagram, and on Facebook. We are just CANiVISION too. And you can check out the sub categories now as those roll out with our different spoke networks are beginning to bloom. And they're going to be putting out a bunch of micro content in there. Questions, critique, you want to send us on scavenger hunts, tips, please do not be shy.
No, except just thank you so much. Appreciate your support.
Definitely.
Really a lot of hard work, and it looks cool, but we are behind the scenes getting after it for you. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So much love, everybody. And remember, when life gives you no place else to turn, you got to turn up, baby.